All right, I'd like to call to order the Town of East Troy Planning Commission for the month of February. I'd like the record to show that all the commissioners are present, well, with the exception of Commissioner Gordon, who has been replaced by Commissioner Zess. Just for the crowd's enjoyment here, we operate on a split meeting format. This is our informational meeting where we'll have the applicant come up, let us know what they're asking for, give any explanation. The commission will ask any questions of the applicant. After that time, the applicant will sit down. We will have a small discussion. Then I'll open it up to the audience. Ask if anybody in the audience would like to speak in favor of the proposal. Then if anybody would like to speak against the proposal. And then we convene, come back 2 weeks, and make our decision. That being said, that's not by ordinance. So if it is a straightforward decision that we feel we can make tonight, we will make it tonight. First item on the agenda is to review and approve the Plan Commission meeting minutes from December 6th. Anybody have any issues on December 6th minutes?
Looked good to me.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a rezone / CSM at N8356 Weaver Lane. Parcel number PET 2300005. Fred and Julie Kimmick are the owners, and Mike Greason, applicant. So it seems a little complicated, so please enlighten us.
Yeah, it's a little goofy. I have a letter from the Kimicks that they asked me to read before. So this is in their words. I'm writing this because we aren't able to attend tonight's meeting in person. We have a married adult son and daughter who each have families of their own. Our first CSM change request was driven by our son's desire to raise his family on the same property that he was raised on. And secondarily, to help us stay on the property longer as we get older by being close and to offer help when we needed. We became very focused on his desire to build a home on the old homestead. And then after receiving attorney's advice, realized that we were not considering our age and the need to consider estate planning. The current CSM change request and zoning change request is a product of much family planning and family discussion. We regret our mistake with the first request and any confusion this inconveniences it caused. Judy and I have lived on the property for 33 years, raised a daughter and son here. And now we're asking you to approve our request to enable us to pass along to them and their families to enjoy as we have. So you guys already approved the lot a while back, I think probably about this time last year-ish or something. But like the letter said, after talking with the family and attorney, they want to do some more estate planning and to make it more equitable between the two kids. They wanted, I believe, the daughter to eventually move into the existing house. The son wants to build, who's in the audience, wants to build on the new lot, the small lot. And then the remainder will be put into a trust to be shared with the two. And that's kind of where the rub was with the other one. We were just going to do 2 lots. So the big lot would be built on, and then there could be issues down the line with sharing that property for them both to enjoy. So we've talked to Darren at the county, had a couple meetings with him, and just like a lot of things with the county, there's a bunch of ways to skin a cat here. And what they recommended was to do a consistency room. And I think Jen might have talked to you guys about that. And if the board feels that what they're requesting is consistent with the surrounding area, I'm cutting it short here, but then we won't have to amend the 2050 plan, and we can rezone it, do the CSM, and proceed on. If you don't, then we'd come back in the spring and ask for the 2050 plan to be amended, which is just another kind of can of worms, but it's doable. So we're just trying to speed it along and ask that you guys rezone it now and let us proceed on. It's going to be 2 single family lots there with the remainder in the back. And if you look around Weber Road, it's pretty similar to all the lots that are on that road.
So I have one question, and hopefully you're more versed on this than me. The consistency review, that was more state driven, and I've never done one for Town of East Troy Planning Commission. It sounds more like a legalese than it is like, yeah, it looks consistent with everything else in the neighborhood. Am I incorrect in that? Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I'm not super, this first time this has come across my desk too, doing that. But I think what they're trying to protect against is, someone trying to put a B3 lot out there, right? Versus something that, it's all residential. I think so, if that was the case, and even if it was a 2050 plan to be business, they might say, yeah, you got to update that plan or whatever. So, I think they're just trying to protect themselves from something odd going in there. So,
And I guess just in my review before the meeting, like, yes, this is consistent.
right.
But then when you highlighted the, just the changes to the consistency review law that came from the state, that kind of concerned me that, am I going to do this wrong? Or is it
Right.
consistency review? Like, looks good.
Well, the other thing is,
Or is it a lot more than
if
that?
you do approve and the town board approves, it still goes to the county and they get a kick at it. They could still say, not consistent, go update the plan. So, it's not the last time we have to get it, not the last board we have to get it approved by. So,
It's just the 2050 plan. There's only once a year you can.
yeah,
do it. I
right.
think
It's in the
September,
spring and then the county doesn't ratify it until October. So
October.
you lose the whole year basically, which is, I don't get that, but it's the way to do it. So.
Anything else? Sorry, I keep
Yeah,
interrupting.
no, that's fine.
What would the expectation of the town be, the town board? If we say this is consistent with the neighborhood, is there a document we need to complete? Is there a-
I believe it would be just, the approval of the CSM and the rezone, and then, it'd go again before the town board, just kind of like a normal rezone and CSM. I don't think there's any form you need to sign or anything like that, just a regular, rezone and CSM kind of process. And then there will be a deed placed against remainder that you can't do anything with that unless you get a conditional use, so.
The other question I had then, so the remainder is 50 acres.
Yeah,
Is that the whole thing, the C4, the whole remaining plot? Okay.
and you had, and the reason we're at the 1.8 acres, because we had to have 20 acres left of A2.
Mhm.
So that's why we had to keep it that size on that new lot. So,
Right. And another one of my ignorance and probably your expertise, I thought 2 farm separations were allowed. Is that not the case? You can
No.
only do 1 farm
Um,
separation?
In certain agricultural land, you can do 2, but I don't think this is one of them.
Okay,
So I don't know if it was A3 maybe or something. You can do 2 in some, I know. So
okay.
Kind of rely on the county. They point us in this direction.
If
so
they're
I
pointing you this way,
apologize.
I'm not gonna tell them
Yeah.
anything different. I know in East Troy, there've been
Yeah. I know
multiple
A1
farm
is one,
separations.
yeah, and I think it might be A3 possibly,
Okay,
but don't quote me on that, I guess.
So I don't have the current CSM in front of me, but currently is it 2 lots, the one with the primary residence and the remaining?
Currently, it's one lot, one big lot with the house on there. So what we're doing is we're gonna split off the existing house onto the lot, onto the 3.57 acres, and then create a new lot 2, just to the north of 1.8 acres where the son wants to build. And that remaining large chunk of 50 acres, it's a mixture of A2, C4, C2, I think there's some C3 in there too, maybe, is just gonna be in the family trust for everybody to kind of share.
And then the letter from the property owner states each of the lots would not be further divisible and would be deed restricted.
Right,
Is
yeah,
that-
obviously lot 1 and 2 will be too small to redivide because there'll be houses on them. The remainder 50 acres will be deed restricted,
Is that the county's request?
yes.
Because,
but just
What they don't want is you keep coming back and saying, okay, we got 50 acres here, can we get another lot? Can we get another lot? I think that's what they're protecting. You could do something with it, you'd have to get conditional use. I don't think the county would ever approve it though. So it kind of puts the approval back.
I was
in
gonna
their
say,
hands.
and there's so much wetland.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do much, but say it was buildable, that's why they do that.
They don't want you to backdoor around a subdivision. All of a sudden
Right.
you come back 15 times and you have
Usually
15
back in the day,
lots.
people would do that. You keep coming back and redivide again. So
So right now you have 2 small lots.
right now it's one.
Right now it's
big
one
lot.
big one.
You're proposing 2 small lots
Two
and
small.
then one really big
Right.
thing.
would
And that
be-
remaining lot would be conforming. Well, conforming A2. It's
Yep.
not all A2, but it conforms with A2.
Get it? No, that's it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the plan to have deed restrictions and no additional divisions goes a long way towards the consistency test.
Sure.
Complexion of the neighborhood. I'm a little confused about your cover letter, certified survey map paragraph, and then the rezone paragraph.
I don't have that one in front. I apologize.
So I can express though, my question, in the certified survey map, did you identify A2 and A5 for lot 2 at 1.8 acres? Then in the following, the rezone paragraph, the A5 lot, there's mention of the 20.45 acres plus the 1.8 acres?
That's, I think that's the remainder of the, on lot 3. I think that's probably what it's talking about.
So Bill, lot
Remainder of
lot two as shown
Yes,
would be A2 because it's part of the bigger A2.
yes,
And that's obviously would be non-conforming, so that's where the rezone comes in. So the smaller lot 8, the lot 2 is gonna be rezoned to A5 to conform with the 1.72 acres. I think that the confusion is it's currently A2 and he wants to change it to A5, but
Yes.
the whole lot is A2.
Yes.
So the other lot that he's doing a farm separation on is also A2. Oh, A2 and
Plus
C3
others, yeah.
and a little bit of C.
So you'll have that extra,
C3.
that 20 some acres of A2 left in lot 3, the large lot, plus all the C1, C2, all the other C, which adds up to 50.
yes.
But there's the county requirement is you have to have over 20 acres of A2 left. You can't make a smaller A2 lot than 20 acres. That's why I think I said that.
So the concern I have is maybe I'm misreading the zoning and shoreline zoning ordinance, but it says, I thought it said that at A5, which is lot 2, needs a minimum of 20 acres.
40,000 square feet for A5.
Yeah, A2 is 20 acres.
A2 is 20, yep.
So A5 does not
Yeah,
have that.
right.
Okay, I'm good, thank you.
Sorry, Ben, go ahead. I don't know if you were done.
There's a lot here. So I'm a little hung up on the, why you have to deed restrict it, because, so lot, A2 is, you just said it was.
20,000.
20,000. So we're at,
Or
sorry, 20, is it 20 acres? for
20.
A2?
50 acres. No, it's 20.
20 acres for
20
A2,
acres.
yes.
20 acres for A2. So we have 20.45 acres for A2.
You want to change it to A5.
So the small lot would be A5.
A5.
No, so I'm just referring to lot 3.
Oh,
So
lot
lot 3 would be 20.45 A2.
Yeah, technically you couldn't,
I don't
Right.
think you could. And
but that's just the county just want.
But really, the only
Their
deed
requirement.
restriction is that it's a conditional use and you
Right.
come back
We could come
to
back,
us and go through the process again.
So for some, maybe they want to put a barn up or something, they have to come and ask you guys.
Right.
I don't know, whatever. I don't know that it'd be even allowed in that zoning, but that, anything they want to do on that, they'd have to come get a conditional use. So,
it just seems like that it'd be unnecessarily disadvantaging a future property owner in that case. So to me, I just don't see any benefit of deed restricting it like that. Now, maybe the county does, but at a town level, I just don't see it.
I guess,
Maybe I'm
and
missing
I agree with you, but I guess if that's how they're proposing it and they're okay with it being deed restricted and the county's gonna make it anyway, who are we to pull the deed restriction out of their proposal?
yeah, the
You know-
county won't do it without the deed
Yeah,
restriction.
right.
So, and I get it, yeah, you won't be able to redivide it because that doesn't have the acreage. But again, maybe a structure or something. I don't know.
And then you'll need a variance to get the construction because it's, there's no home on that.
Right.
Oh, yeah, good
Yeah, you'd
point.
have to do that too.
Yeah.
So.
Or it would have to be a home,
There has
it
to
couldn't be, it couldn't be an accessory building, right, right.
But they have no intention of doing
Sure.
that anyways. It's gonna be in a trust and
Sure.
siblings.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thanks, Mike.
Okay, thank you.
Discussion amongst commissioners, does everybody know what's being proposed now? Farm separation for lot A1. They're breaking off A2, need a rezone, or A2, lot 2, they need a rezone. And then the remaining lot 3 is conforming A2.
Is this, so with regard to the long-term land use plan, is this inconsistent with it?
It is consistent, yes.
It is consistent.
It is,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I think, what the long-term land use plan is not, is zoning. It looks a little bit like zoning. It just, use of a property density, but it's not zoning. So to me, if it's consistent with the overall density, I don't think that's really all that material to this discussion. That's my 2 cents.
I tend to agree. I've just never I'm not real familiar with if is that a process? Should I be familiar with this process? I've just never gone through it. So if the consistency review is like, hey, we live in the town of East Troy, this is consistent with that area because we live here. And that's obviously why the county wants local feedback, is for just that reason, what we're doing tonight. To me, it's consistent.
Mhm.
So other discussion amongst
Just one concern for us before we take action or postpone 2 weeks. As the liaison to the board and as a town supervisor, I can tell you unequivocally, they're going to ask me about this consistency review.
Sure.
And so I need to have an understanding that there's a consensus by us that we believe it has to do with the 2050 plan. We believe what's being proposed is consistent with the surrounding area. We don't see any difficulty with the consistency requirements that are part of this packet.
Right.
It's good if I can say that.
I think it's
Well-
kind of like the shoreline zoning when you can average the setbacks
Right.
so that that's consistent. So you don't, the new is 75, but if all your neighbors are at 40, that's consistent to be at 40. And
Yes.
that's why they allow that. So I think this is very similar to that train of thought.
And the lot sizes around them and the rural residential nature of the land, yes. I just want to let you know, because
So I feel what you just said,
Does
if you said you would take to the board, I think we're all in agreement with that. Again, I don't want to speak for anybody else. So the way you put it.
Hearing no objection, great.
Okay. No other discussion amongst commissioners? Then I would open up to the audience. Would anybody in the audience like to speak in favor of the proposal? Would anybody like to speak against the proposal?
Excuse me, I've got some questions.
If you could just come up and state your name and address for the record, please.
Stefan Pankowski, North 8374 Weber Road. I'm the property that abuts up to Fred and Judy's property.
Okay.
I've heard about this. I've not seen any drawings or documentation on where exactly the splits would be and how they would access this new property and everything else. Again, so I don't really have a comment either way. Obviously, I don't want to stand in the way of progress. I love the area and I want to keep it as rural as possible, but I want to certainly help, and work with them. But I'd also like to see what they're proposing.
Sure.
I don't know what we have to do that or how that typically works. Oh, maybe I should have.
It's always available on the internet.
Oh,
You can look on
I
there.
didn't realize that it was
It's
up there
always on
ahead
there.
of time. So,
And I know it's maybe a little bit to absorb right now.
Yeah.
If you maybe want to post your objection or whatever. But I can kind of walk you through it. Obviously,
that'd be great.
if you're looking at it, it's currently one large
Yeah,
parcel.
absolutely.
There is currently a house on it. So if you look kind of in the upper center portion, lot 1,
Yep.
that's where the existing house is.
Yep.
They would do a farm separation and make that lot 1 at 3.75 acres.
Mhm.
They would then propose a second lot just to the north of there, which would be rezoned to A2. And 1.80 acres conforms with A2.
Mhm.
And then the remaining is 20.45 acres consistent with A2 zoning. I'm sorry, I said lot 2 is A5.
Got it.
Sorry.
So, and that it's pretty clear. The question that I would have then is, what you're trying to accomplish here is just the rezoning of these specific areas at this point?
So it's a little bit of everything because we have to approve the certified survey map. So this would be the certified survey map.
Okay.
And part of that certified survey map, they're requesting a zoning change of lot 2.
Okay.
That's the only zoning change they're asking for.
So one of the questions that I have, and again, I'm not taking sides on either, I just questions, how would they access lot 2?
So the cover letter, I don't know if you have that from V2G.
And that, I'm sorry, I apologize.
No
that I did
problem
not
at
get
all.
this ahead of time. Okay.
There is lots would be accessed via a 50-foot minimum access frontage. Lot 1 and 2 would share the easement for access to lot 3, with a separate easement going south to lot 1 for future access, if that makes any sense to you.
Hi, yeah. Hi.
Maybe Mike, maybe you can explain it better. 'cause-
So they're basically gonna use the same driveway. There's gonna be easement for
for this lot and this lot off the same driveway.
Sure.
If you turn, I think, to the door.
Oh, okay, that's what I was looking
So,
for.
they're gonna come up here, this, and then there'll be a driveway up here to this new lot, that new lot's here. The county makes us put an easement to the back parcel because you can only have 2 parcels access one easement, can't have 3, but this really will never be, it's all.
Yeah, no, I get it,
It'll be
yeah.
done with it, So,
Okay.
so really, you're not gonna see much change other than the driveway up here, so at some
So
point.
doesn't that hinder a future property owner 30 years from now, not having his own property, or that would just be?
There's really no.
The easement's recorded on the
Yeah,
CSM.
no issues that way, okay.
I mean, ideally, everybody has their own frontage, right, their own
Sure.
driveway. but
Yeah, that's where I was coming from. I just didn't know if they were gonna put a driveway next to the one that's there. I wasn't quite sure how they were.
Yeah,
gonna
they
do
wanted to share the whole thing, but the county won't let them, so.
that. Okay,
Yeah, so.
okay,
We would do the trees between the 2 houses,
sure,
the same, but recorded would have to have that 50-foot
okay,
easement on there.
okay. And then the only other question that I had was, and you guys kind of answered my question when you were going through and talking about that size of that lot, because I was surprised, you mentioned 1.8 acres. I know all the other lots on Weber Road are 2 acres, around that size. I was thinking for the future, maybe not for you, but future owner, as far as, having a lot that's similar in size to make sure you could build a barn or, a shed and things like that. But
And the reason why they did 1.8 is so that the remaining lots over 20,
sure,
20.0.
it makes sense now.
20.54.
Okay.
So,
All right. So no statement either way. Like I said, I'm just looking.
yeah, and I
looking for
just kind of put it out
information.
there for or against. You don't necessarily have to be for or against.
So. All right, no other questions at
All
this
right,
time.
great, thank you,
you.
appreciate it. Anybody else in the audience would like to make a comment? Okay. Any other discussion amongst commissioners? To me, as long as Bill's okay with, presenting it to the town board, I think we can act on it tonight.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
Motion to approve the rezone CSM at N 8356 Weber Lane, PET 2300005.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Pick one. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks. Next item on the agenda is a conditional use, N8826 Highway ES, parcel PET 16000006 D1, Carl Sawyer, Ferris Hanson, applicant.
So good evening, everyone. I'm Carl Sawyer. For the record, I live at N8844 County Road ES, the owner of Sawyer Investments. So the property and subject has been in my family since my grandmother and grandmother purchased it in 1934 or 36. And, pretty much was agricultural land all its life. And what ended up happening is the condition you see the land today before the filling activity you see where the big pothole was, that was formed back in the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s when Mann Brothers built I-43 through there, and they used that area as a borrow pit. And of course, when they did their borrow pit back then, we don't have all the wonderful plan commissions and all the reviews and everything for the state projects. So they essentially left that hole there alongside 43 and figured, well, make great drainage. And it was never restored. So, there was basically just sand and gravel there. And as agricultural land, it is essentially unusable. We tried farming it for several years, but our average yield was 40 to 60 bushel per acre for corn, just to, there's just no topsoil there to support cropping. So, what has been going on over the last few years, I purchased the property after my father passed. And of course, looking at the comprehensive land use plan down the road, that land is slated for commercial use. However, the way it sits and exists with the hole that's there, it's of no use. You can't build it, you can't do anything with it Because you can see it comes down to a very small point here, and basically your usable land is only from here to here. And with the setbacks that are there, you can't really get any sizable building on there or do much with it. So at this time, a couple years back, we went and purchased a chunk of land. You can see the little dotted line back down here that goes almost makes it a tip there. We purchased a chunk from the DOT. I guess at the time, I probably didn't listen to Warren as good as I should have, because you can see now we have a new dotted line out here. And this new dotted line represents land I'm trying to purchase right now from the DOT. And that land was where ES used to lay originally. And after the routing of ES was changed and 43 was built, nothing was ever done with that land. The state retained ownership of it and was unaware of it. So they sold me the one chunk, and I guess at the time I bought it, I was not thinking I should have bought it all the way to the dotted line we have now. So, and the reason for that is because the additional space will give me, better setbacks and use of the property. So at any rate, where we find ourselves today is we know that the DOT is doing the project in town. They had roughly 40,000 yards of material to get rid of. And it gave me an opportunity to come in here and fill this in one shot. I've been making a mess up and down ES for a long time, and I'm getting tired of it. I want to clean it up and make it look nice. And to have this done in one shot, by one contractor at very little expense on my end was a great opportunity. The problem came into play is now we do have all the wonderful review processes, and the DOT cannot do what they consider developing land. Their boundaries on it are kind of weird because anything you do is developing. So they came in, they got the permits necessary for the DOT to start filling, but unfortunately they decided they can only fill the top third of the property, and that kind of defeats my purpose because now I got, an even taller property with a deeper hole on the other end. So the option they gave me was to go ahead and get the fill permits myself and take it away from the DOT control. And if I did that by obtaining the proper permits, then I can fill the entire property. Where this comes that I'm here for conditional use is because we're at 2.1 or 2.2 acres of fill, and anything over 2 acres at the county, we need a conditional use permit for doing the filling activity because this is currently zoned A1. So at this point, we're working through. We have our proper permitting for the DOT or the DNR. Excuse me. We have done the stormwater management plan and permitting through them, and we have applied for the county permit as well. So at this point, we just need to do the conditional use and get town approval and the county approval. And we're hoping this year to have all that in place. Your meeting for the board is the 7th. Meeting for the county is the 15th, I believe. So that's when we'll be able to obtain permits. Musson Brothers is looking to start March 1st, which they can still work their end of their end where they have been working, which you see that area is encased in silt fence currently. And they're planning on having this filled by July.
So are they doing the next phase? Or
Yes.
the next phase all the way down to Town Line Road, I think it is, or whatever.
They've got 2 phases left. 3 phases, but 1 phase runs concurrently through all of it. Right now, they're going to start on the south lanes of Highway 20. So they're going to move all the traffic to the north side of Highway 20. And then they're going to tear up the south all the way out to where it goes back down to single lane highway out past 43. Then once that section is done, they're going to flip flop the traffic back over, and then they'll do the north lanes, on the east-west of 20. And
East of 43?
Yes.
Okay.
And then concurrent with all that, they're going to mill, pave, and repair sections of 20 all the way to Waterford. So basically from where you see the repair started on the west side of town, it'll be brand new road all the way to Highway 20, which thank God. So, but anyhow, as far as this here goes, we're looking to have it topsoiled and grassed and filled and done. And, if everything works out, we'll be growing grass this fall. So, and you know, the long-term goal, if the DOT is working slowly on purchase, but we may end up coming back. And this is gonna change by moving that property line. We're gonna end up putting, you know, somewhat of a berm along here. And we'll actually do a storm sewer along there as well to run into the pond and catch all the water. And that way the property for future use will be shielded, you know, so you can't really see it from ES. And it'll be a nice decorative berm, plant some trees and it'll make it look good, so. But that will be an amended plan, which I believe we'd have to, how would that work, Warren?
What's that?
How would that work if we did an amended plan? Does that have to come back?
No, the amendments should have to do that.
So, but that depends on the DOT, so I'm just bringing it up, it's out there, but I don't know, you know. Go ahead.
So you mentioned when this came about that the DOT, or paraphrasing here, but you became aware that you had all this fill that you could get for free.
Yes.
Did that come to pass? Was that part of the earlier phase of Highway 20?
Yes, that was the
They-
phase that they put in last year.
They dumped that fill somewhere else.
Well, so the way it works is Monson Brothers bids the job, okay, with the DOT. And they figure in where they're gonna go with fill.
They didn't dump
But
it
if-
here though.
Well, they dump some here, yes.
What they could.
Oh, they still can. They have all the permitting in place, but they're
Oh.
only gonna fill essentially, if you watch so you see the one green line here, right where the printing is there,
Mhm.
they're gonna be coming down to. I just pointed out here.
But basically, it's because you're going over 2 acres disturbed that
They're
you
coming
need
down
conditional
right
use.
here to this line is as far as they're gonna.
They're
fill
filling
right
2
now.
acres.
No, this permit, we're asking to fill 2.1 acres. They are filling under 2.
Under.
Right.
And
No, you're hitting that threshold, therefore you need a condition.
I am hitting the threshold because I am taking the permits away from the DOT and I'm permitting the entire property.
And you'll
Their
allow
intention was
whoever the hell you
originally-
want to dump there.
What's that?
You'll allow whoever you want to dump there, but it's going to be Musson Brothers.
Yeah. 'Cause I mean, the agreement I made with Monson Brothers was, you know, you're filling a 20-some foot hole. If we don't compact that place as it's being placed
It's
and
no good.
strip and everything, it's an unusable piece of property for
For sure.
20 years or better.
For sure.
Until it gets its natural settage.
Okay.
But anyhow, Monson Brothers, through the DOT process, can come in and fill 40 acres if they want. There's no limit on the acres the DOT can fill, and they don't have to comply with county or with town regulation. But in this case, the DNR got in here because we're draining, basically, yes, there's a high point down here, you know, to the south of the property. And then there basically is, you know, this is a low point right here, but everything drains through the ditch and comes and goes under ES and goes behind my shop into that retention pond is where it all ends up. And then we're draining 5.4 acres of I-43. Now, years ago, when they put I-43 in, they should have made this a retention pond and purchased or taken that land from us at the time they took the rest of the land. But they didn't. They just left it as a whole. That was their pond. So now the DNR, when the DOT goes through the process of doing these fill sites, they get 10, 15 different entities there, and the DNR is one of them. And the DNR was worried about our filling process disturbing that retention area. And they said, well, we're only going to allow you to fill the XYZ area, which is, I believe it's I can't read it. It's 828 is the grade line, I believe. So at any rate, you know, the DNR said no, so we can't fill the entire property. Okay,
So without a conditional use, they would
they'll
continue to
fill,
fill in their manner.
they can fill right now as far as what the DNR is allowing them to, which is the outline of that silt fence that's
And
out
then they
there.
would look elsewhere
Yep,
with the rest.
yes,
Okay, you mentioned the current zoning is A1, you said?
yes. My intention is to leave it A1 at this time. I am working on purchase, the neighbor and I have an agreement for me to buy the house there in that property. My intention is to join the 2 properties and at that time rezone. And then I will be a business zone.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Thank you for the narrative and the history. Were you aware that the town board met this past Monday night and not next? So
Yeah, no, so we gotta wait till
we're
next
gonna
month
lose
for
a
the,
month. I know
Yeah,
time
it's-
is everything.
yeah, but we'll fall in place. I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
Because, so this site, as it is that the DOT is filling right now, where the silt fence is outlined there, the DOT can fill that to capacity, you know? And so that gives them a month, 2 months
Okay.
of time to work before they need the permit for the rest of this. And then actually, I have to go in and dig, I gotta strip this whole area yet. And then I have to dig the pond, and there's a small storm sewer line here that reroutes the water. I have to get all that in place. And then Monson will fill right to that line. And then they're going to topsoil the half where the silt fence is currently. They're gonna topsoil that half, then I have to take the topsoil and do the rest all the way down. So it's a little convoluted. I probably could have got a little more out of them, but when am I ever gonna have an opportunity to get this all filled in one shot?
Right.
Get it
And they're
cleaned
gonna
up.
place it and compact it
They're
for you.
placing and compacting it, so it's a
Sweet.
usable site right off the bat. So, you know.
And so before this all started, there was some farming that was going on there?
years ago, I haven't
Not
farmed
in
it
the
since I
last-
purchased it. I actually
Just-
started pursuing filling this back when, but the county made my life so difficult that I washed my hands of it and I planted, planted grass and called it a day back, year and a half, 2 years ago. So, so at this point, that's my other thing is get this done, get cleaned up, get grass growing, and then move forward.
Would your intent, would the plan be to wrap up all the filling activities this next season?
This year,
This year,
this coming
2024?
construction season.
And
We'll have
then,
grass growing by fall.
and then you're done?
Yes, for the time being, until down the road when we actually place a business there, yeah.
Cause then it looks like that, it's those grades, that
relatively-
retention pond.
Relatively flat and buildable, that would be the idea.
Yes.
Other questions for the applicant? Okay, thanks, Carl. Just a quick discussion. The first thing obviously that came up to me, I'm like, oh, A1, prime egg? That's not a prime egg. That's
Right,
not a
but
prime
That's
agricultural
why I was asking.
piece of property.
Yeah,
We all know that.
Actually, our nickname over all the years, we called it the rock garden.
Yeah, so that was the first thing that perked me, like, whoa, we're not gonna fill a low spot on a A1 property, no effing way. Then I looked at it, I'm like, okay, never mind. So that's my only comment. Again, it's in our business corridor. He's gonna get it to a buildable business lot. It'll still be zone A1. He'll still have to come back to us to rezone to B1, B3, or B2, whatever it's gonna be.
What is it at now on the long-term plan?
Business, I believe.
It's a business corridor.
Right. The ES corridor.
On that side.
Commercial, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Commercial, sorry, not business. But
So if we, question for the commission, if we approve, would that allow the applicant to fill additionally 3 years from now, 4 years from now, as he saw fit?
he can fill to these grades. If for example, let's say the highway project didn't produce enough fill to meet these grades, he could keep going up to these grades, up to whatever the grades are. He's digging the pond ahead of time, putting in the stormwater pipe so that everything drains before they continue to fill. So I guess the short answer is yes, they could continue to fill, but not be on this plan. So they couldn't come in a year from now, fill in the pond, raise it another 2 feet above ES or whatever. That's the plan that they're bound to. Whether they get enough fill from Highway 20 or not, whether they get too much fill from 20, obviously then they can't keep bringing it in. They got to go somewhere else once they meet these grades. And I would assume you'd have to have some sort of a recertification survey of some sort. And not for us, but for,
No, just the retention pond will have to be resurveyed after it's done.
okay.
And just an FYI, Wilson, I think, still has an excess after filling this of 10,000 yards.
Sure,
10,
sure.
15,000.
So you'll have
Oh, yeah, this will be done.
It'll be done topsoil,
Yeah.
seeded,
We
growing,
also, we
yeah.
have Starbucks, so there's not a lot of topsoil on site. We, in the Starbucks contract in town, as well as the Culvers, and the Starbucks contract, we have 5,000 yard export topsoil. So I'm gonna bring that pile, not all of it, but a portion of it out here for topsoil.
just stockpile it there and then
Yeah.
push it when you're done.
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah, so that's really good
Sure.
stuff, so it's just gonna, it'll grow good.
Other discussion then amongst commissioners, unless you've got anything else? Okay. Then I would take this time to open it up to the audience. Would anybody in the audience like to speak in favor of the proposal? Would anybody like to speak against the proposal? I guess as long as everybody's, knows what's going on and Bill can explain it to the town board, I think we could act on this tonight as well.
Agreed.
Would anybody like to make a motion?
I'd make a motion that we approve the conditional use for parcel PET 160006D1.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is other business. And before we get into other business, if we could skip what we talked about, some of those forms, because I went over it and left it on my desk. We were going to talk about some of the stuff that you brought up. If you were going to continue that discussion tonight, I asked that we table that till the next meeting because I was prepared but left it all on my
Well,
desk.
I
at
did
the
want to have
office.
some, we don't have to get into the details of the weeds, but I thought it's been a while, so I thought we'd revisit it to an extent.
Sure,
So
by all means.
Bear with me.
I just don't want to become the babbling idiot that's not prepared for this. So,
I guess, did everyone, just curious, did everyone get a chance to do some review of the documents and start to form some opinion? So I wonder what I could do if we all feel it's worthwhile. What I thought I could do is try to draft something for Jen to distribute and then boil it down a little bit into writing. Some ideas and then incorporate that into next month's packet.
I think
For
that'd be
some discussion.
fantastic. Anybody else?
Go on there and keep it around.
And
Sure.
then maybe, I don't know if it's the type of thing that we review and act on in a day or in one setting. Maybe we keep noodling on it for a bit, but
Sure.
I thought we could try to,
I think it's worth trying to move forward.
Sure. To your point, I was talking to my wife. She's like, how long is it going to be? I'm like, well, we got Ferris Hansen and we got V2G here today. So they'll know what's going on. Because again, the lay person doesn't really know what they're supposed to be bringing here. So kind of to that point.
okay, I'll try to draft something.
Sure, that'd be
To
great. That'd be
start
appreciated.
to facilitate the discussion.
Perfect.
We can always kick it back and forth too.
Yeah, email it. Yeah, sure. Okay. Or wait, can we not email back and forth? Because that'll be
You guys
Forum?
can email to each other. I can email
Okay.
to you.
okay, great.
So we should call it something too for agenda purposes. Give it a name.
Ben can come up with a name.
Yeah, because
Manhattan Project.
Yeah, something even better than that.
Yeah.
I did inform the board at our Monday night meeting that we are having these discussions about forms and process and working better with the county and in helping applicants. They were totally encouraging.
Sure. Any other business for commissioners? Any other public comment then? I would take a motion to adjourn.
I motion that we adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. I was confused when I saw Sawyer's